If everybody's ready.
I think the directors are ready. Up their social hour.
If it pleases everybody, we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to commence the meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District Board of Directors for November 8th, 2012. Call the meeting to order. First order of business would be to salute the flag. Please repeat after Mr. Rosali.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The open meeting, or the open session meeting, is videotaped for cablecast on Metro Cable 14, replay on Saturday, November 10, 2012 at 1 p.m. and Monday, November 12, 2012 at 6 p.m. on channel 14, webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv or sacmetrocable.tv. And the open session meetings are also available for viewing at the district website, www.metrofire.ca.gov. And can somebody confirm that they're also on YouTube? They're on YouTube as well. All right then. First order of business, or consent agenda.
So moved.
There's a motion by Director Gould and a second by Director Clark to approve the consent agenda. Board Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Director Monk.
Aye.
Gould.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Rosali.
Aye.
Newcomer. Scheidegger.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Pearson.
Abstain.
Director Jones absent. Motion passes.
All right. Moving on to the action items. First action item is an amendment to the agreement for McClellan Airport Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting Services. Chief Henke?
I think we might have one. Do we have a public presentation first?
Oh, missed that, did I?
Yes, we do.
I apologize. I have a speaker card for a Corinne Whitman Wong. Miss Whitman Wong, would you please come forward?
Directors, Chief, Scott Clough, Assistant Chief, Emergency Medical Services Division. I'd like to introduce Corinne Whitman Wong. She's the CEO of our billing company. She's here to speak concerning a citizen complaint we had in our September meeting. Excuse me. I'd just like to point out that she's been a contractor with the district for more than 10 years. She's been a great partner. Her company processes more than 36,000 of our bills annually with very, very high satisfaction rate. But she asked to come tonight and speak before you and shed some light on the complaint we had from September's meeting. So I'll give it to Corinne.
Good evening. Thank you. As Chief Clough said, my name is Corinne. I am the CEO of Whitman Enterprises, and I appreciate everything that he has said to introduce me today. But the fact of the matter is we failed Mrs. Beck. And so I am here today to apologize not only to the board, but directly to Mrs. Beck as well. We strive for 100% satisfaction. Our company was built on customer service and extending that empathy. That's what sets us apart. So a complaint like this, and when I watched the video from that evening, it made me just as mad. I want to assure you that we strive to continue to deliver the customer service that our business was built on. By Mrs. Beck bringing this to light, it has given me an opportunity to look at some processes and procedures that we have in place that we were able to change. And so we are moving forward to hopefully eliminate this from ever happening in the future. My goal is for that 100% satisfaction. And so I have met individually with each of the representatives who worked on this account to reiterate this. We are looking at processes and procedures. We have made changes to processes and procedures. And I do want to stress that absolutely we train, we teach, and it is top priority for us, specifically in the case of a death, that to extend that empathy. And in this case, we obviously failed. And so I want to personally apologize to each of you, as well as to Mrs. Beck.
Well, thank you, and I think I speak for most of the Board of Directors. We appreciate you coming forward, making that apology. I speak for myself saying that I wasn't mad, I just knew there was a breakdown in the system someplace, and with the help of our staff, I knew it would be corrected. Thank you. Moving on to action item number 1, amendment to the agreement for McClellan Airport Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting Services. Chief Henke?
Yes. As I think most of you know, the United States Coast Guard, we have an existing contract for air crash rescue services at McClellan Air Force Base. And as the economy has tightened, the Air Force has been trying, or the Coast Guard has been trying to reduce costs as much as possible. And I came to the attention of the district about 6 months ago, and I briefed you on that in regards to the Coast Guard's desire to cut costs. So working with the county administrator, Brad Hudson, and myself, and working with Larry Kelly, who's the owner of McClellan Park out there and a great contributor to our district and the businesses that he provides an opportunity, we knew that we did not want to lose the Coast Guard as a tenant out at McClellan. It's a desire to keep them. There's a lot of revenue that's ancillary to the businesses that sell them fuel, to the businesses that sell them food, you name it, to housing, to the whole 9 yards. And that detachment is extremely important to the economy, but also to Metro Fire. We have worked very closely with them when they lost that air crew, unfortunately, a couple of years ago down south when it crashed. That was out of McClellan. And the bottom line is the desire was to keep them here. So we went through with a fine-tooth comb on the contract. We were able to come up with about $150,000 in savings from our side. The county of Sacramento came up with, I believe, around $300,000 to $350,000 in savings from their side. And with that, we could extend the contract for 1 year. We do have enough room in our budget to absorb that for this one time only. And the recommendation is to sign that on behalf of staff is to sign the agreement for a 1 year extension. I think that the fact of the issue, though, is that the Coast Guard and us, and I talked to Larry Kelly today briefly, and we'll be doing a follow-up, and Brad Hudson are really going to have to take a serious look at what we're going to do long-term here. And when I mean serious, as in when January hits, we need to start the discussions, because it's at least my feeling and staff's feeling that there's a pretty good chance that the Coast Guard's going to end up closing that detachment potentially anyways. So we need to look at some alternative methodologies, what we can do with them. You know, the Coast Guard is valued customer. I will tell you that their contracts division wasn't necessarily the best to work with because they really put us under the gun, and we had to put this program together very, very quickly. So this year, working with the county starting in January, I think it's going to be important to sit down and work with them, not only on the West Coast, certainly the detachment here doesn't want to leave, but perhaps in Washington, D.C. As well, to have a conversation about what that protection capability looks like. So I think it's in the best interest of the district, it's in the best interest of the business community, it's in the best interest of economics regionally that we keep them here. And so that's why I recommend that we go ahead and ratify this reduction of $150,000 for this 1 year extension. And again, note that the county has already approved their reduction as well. And then with that, we will begin discussions and be keeping the board informed on where we go from here. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any directors have questions? Seeing no questions, would entertain a motion. Make the motion.
Make a motion that we adopt staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and Director Pearson, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a real brief one. The 150, when you say we reduce that, are we reducing any services by doing that, or are we still able to maintain the same level of service?
We're going to be able to maintain the same level of service. We basically went and cut out a bunch of administrative stuff, and I'm going to be honest, it was not painless. We sacrificed, and if the Coast Guard's watching, I certainly hope they understand that, and especially our elected officials that represent us in Congress and in the states and in the Senate in D.C. We stepped up to the plate. The Sacramento region, both Sacramento County, Sac Metro Fire District. This is pain. When we're suffering pain at the local level and we're losing taxes and we're trying to do the best we can, we had to cut out fees that we had already budgeted for. So it wasn't painless, but I think it was prudent, and then we need to redefine the discussion with them about where we move forward. So the service level will remain the same. Any further reductions definitely would result in a reduction in service level from us. So, there's a lot of conversations that need to be had about how that works. I think one of the big issues is the airports as a whole in Sacramento County probably need to be revisited on how we mutually provide protection. Clearly, Sac Metro is the big red lever. When people have problems, they're calling us to come in. We only currently cover McClellan. Clearly, International has a full fire department out there that does a great job. But if you watch from Mather, we have planes coming in and out of there every day doing touchdowns, a lot of traffic and stuff. And then they have a two-person crew out there, which if something goes wrong, in all honesty, and not that they're not fully competent people, they're dialing 911 and we're sending a full complement, which is what happens. So I think there needs to be a well-thought-out a discussion with the business owners, the stakeholders, the county, on how do we look at this as a holistic picture moving forward. And I think that probably revolves around not just providing air crash rescue for the military, for the Coast Guard, but also for the other planes that are coming in and out of there that are carrying a lot of cargo and stuff like that. So, I don't want a knee-jerk reaction or anything. As I told the county council, I think we need to sit down with Larry Kelly and with the parties and figure out where we go from here.
So we had a motion by Director Director Newcomer, and a second by Director Scheidegger, or Director Clark. Any further questions, gentlemen? All those in favor, Board Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Directors Monk.
Aye.
Gould.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Barzali.
Aye.
Newcomer.
Aye.
Scheidegger.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Pearson.
Aye.
Jones absent. Motion passes.
All right. Next item. Next item is a closed session item.
Director Kelly,
have our
I talked to legal counsel. It would be our recommendation to go ahead, since we don't have other lawyers here tonight, is go ahead and do the presentation items, and in the end go into closed session if that's a pleasure of the board, and handle that at the end.
That's fine with me. Our presentation item is on the self-inspection program summary. Fire Marshal Iverson.
Board of Directors, Fire Chief Hinkie. My name is Ray Iverson. I am the Fire Marshal for Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District. I believe each of you have in front of you a 104-page summary of our self-inspection program to date. It talks about how it was established, and it goes through the purpose of the self-inspection program, and allows for the history and the background information to show how we got to where we are today with that program, the benefits to the community, and the compromises that were made to help make this program a successful program that focuses on public safety for our business community.
I'm sorry, but you made this, that's pretty much the same presentation you made 2-3 months ago, right?
Well, this program was enacted June 28th.
Or 6 months ago, or 5 months ago. Okay.
Yes, here at this forum.
All right.
But I just wanted to open it up to submit this document to you for your review, and to hopefully answer any questions you have regarding the self-inspection program, And if you had any questions at this time, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
And I'll just add a editorial on there before we open it up to the board. Clearly, anytime we start a new program, and it has to do with a fee, you're going to have some people that have concern out there in the community. We have sent out 10,000 of these, I believe, around 10,000 self-inspection forms. Only the moderate to small-sized businesses are eligible. There's a certain amount of businesses that can do this. Those are the businesses that we really felt that we did not want to be overly onerous on, and that's why we came up with the self-inspection. It was something that could be allowed and would save them money. I have been in touch with, again, with Roger Nilo from the Metro Chamber. And just so the board knows, I think we're down with the Metro Chamber really to the issue is how did you come up with the fees? How do you come up with your cost analysis? And we obviously hired an outside firm, NBS, to come in. They work for over 100 municipalities in California, and that's what they do. They come in and do an analysis so that when you go to charge your fee, it's the appropriate fee, it's legally defensible, and they come up with what the hourly fee would be. And that takes a lot of work, and that's a study they put together, and I believe that's been included in our packets. The business community, I think, is interested. A small group Mr. Nilo is going to bring in is how's that work. So we're going to have NBS come and talk to them. But I think briefly before Chief Iverson asked the questions, I'd like to put this a little bit more in perspective. We were not inspecting the businesses we were supposed to be inspecting. This is a new board of directors. It's a new administration. Accountability at Metro Fire is one of our core values, is making sure that we're accountable. And when we weren't inspecting those businesses, we weren't providing the safety. Now, in the private business sector, when they put their costs together, as I discussed with Mr. Nilo, they have to put their costs together based on market forces, supply and demand, what will the market bear. They have to put it together on what it costs for whatever product they're going to manufacture or sell and the people it takes to do that. And then they build in a profit margin to be able to make a profit. That's what they're supposed to do. And the business community is what's the economic engine that drives our communities, and it's important. We, on the other hand, are a governmental agency. There are certain issues such as fire prevention, inspections, emergency medical service delivery, that was never the intention of the property tax to be able to cover that. We covered it without charging for years in the beginning because we could get by with that. And you had revenue to do that. As the economy has shrunk and as the district has lost $26 million in property tax revenue, and as we realize we need to inspect these businesses and be out there and be accountable to the public to enforce safety, we had to come up with a methodology to do that. And we have the legal ability to recover our costs. Now, unlike a private business, we are prohibited from making a profit. So we have to put together an independent analysis. We could have done it ourselves, but that's like the fox watching the hen house. That's not a trustworthy way to go or a credible way for the community. So we hire an independent company that does this professionally. They come in, they analyze our indirect and direct costs, and they come up with a dollar value that you can charge. They did that. We charge under that by several dollars an hour. We didn't charge the top. We had not raised our rates for inspections in 3 years, so we were way behind, about 32%, I think, behind our market and what we would deal with as far as cost recovery. And so we did that. Now, as I said, not all businesses are eligible for this self-inspection. If you're a Home Depot or you're a large company, you're getting a fully uniformed inspector, which runs about $185 an hour to be able to do that inspection. Companies like that, they expect that. That's what they get. It's the law. We send somebody out there. But for the smaller business community, we don't need to do that. We can do it for less money. And so when I talked to Mr. Nilo, and I think there was an understanding, at least to this part, two things. We've switched to the iPad system, which you folks now have, because we can do an inspection in a fraction of the time when we're out there, and when we hit send, it goes to a cloud, and you have a company, Fire Recovery USA, which provides that type of service. It's no different than having a server company provide you service to be able to provide faster service, more efficient service, and then the billing component that goes with it. And time is money. It speeds it up. So when you do your self-inspection program and you submit that and you hit send, it goes to that cloud, it goes to the billing company, and it immediately, within a matter of seconds, probably shows up on your email that you've got the bill and that you've paid, and so on and so forth. Now, this Fire Recovery USA has been around for several years, but I want to make it very clear. Their initial work with us was on fire prevention issues and EMS issues. And it was about how could we speed up the ability to do reports, to attract data, to gather that type of stuff. And we've looked at all of those types of things. Nobody from Metro Fire works for this company. I do not believe anybody from Metro Fire is related to this company. We went out and did our RFP process. They were selected to do it. The analysis of what we charge was done by a separate company, NBS. So nobody here is connected on the way any of this was accomplished. And at the end of the day, I did not believe, nor did the board, that it was prudent to have the small to moderate business owner have to have an inspector show up at $185 to do the inspection. I felt that a moderate-sized, a small business, having that happen every year could be overly onerous. And so we had to come up with what would be fair, and what we did was a half-hour minimum. Because what the public needs to know is when that inspection goes up, inspectors still review the form that you fill out and self-inspect and send in. So they're spending anywhere between 15, 20, 30 minutes, depending on what you've got written in there, making sure that there's confirmation in there that it was actually done. So the idea that you're doing a self-inspection, you're submitting it, and that's the end of it, is not accurate. We actually do the checks to follow up on that, but we can do it in much less time than we do a full inspection and cost much less. So that is the reason that we've done it. We have had several individuals in the community contact us and are concerned, both on who we're using and who's this Fire Recovery USA. It's no different than hiring Whitman, our biller that we do with EMS calls. I mean, you hire contractors because it's cheaper to do that to the taxpayer and to the end user than for us to do that in-house. And so that's what we've done. Some of the other issues are normal issues. If you are in a 700 square foot space and you have a business license and you share that space with another professional who has a business license and you get two bills for self-inspection, we don't think that's appropriate. So we have the ability for people to call and say, listen, and we had that. We had a lady call and she said, you know, I've got another professional. We both have business licenses. We fixed that and said, no, only one. You know, we're only interested in the one that's expected one time. So we're fixing that. So that's where it's at. I know that some directors have had more people in their district interested than others. I would say that when you talk about 10,000 notices going out, though, we really have had a couple handfuls of people that just have really been upset and really want to address this issue more detailed. And that's why we did it at 2,600 notices at a time, was so that when those people called in, they didn't get sent to a message center, they didn't get put off for a week, that we had the ability in a fair way to get back to them and give them the personal service that they needed to explain to them why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing it. So with that, I think that the program's working. I think next year there'll be a lot less bumps in the road. But again, when you look at the overall volume that we've sent out, 99% of the people plus that are calling in, once we answer their questions, are okay. We're good with that. We just want to know. Is that Fire Recovery USA some scam? You know, I mean, people you get calls at home for donate to the firefighters charity and it's a scam. So we changed that after the first 2,600 notices to put our numbers on there to deal with them. And we're hearing the public loud and clear. I can tell you as a fire chief, if it wasn't necessary, if we didn't have 6 engine companies closed, if we could provide the service as a gratis to the business community without impacting them, boy, I think this board and all of us would like to do that. We value that. We've got 6 companies closed. We have lost 26 million in revenue. We don't have the ability to do things as we always did. And the bottom line is we need to inspect the buildings. We are required to inspect the buildings per the fire code. So with that, I turn it over to Chief Iverson, the fire marshal, who's the expert in answering any questions that you might have.
Directors, Mr. Scheidegger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank you for coming tonight, Chief Iverson. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've received a very significant number of contacts, and I don't think that's unhealthy. I think it's fine for the business community to question the new program and to get a greater depth of understanding. But I want to publicly, if you will, thank you for your fine work, because I'm getting feedback from citizens who have contacted you, and their concerns are being allayed. I'm not saying in every case 100%, but you and your staff are doing a fine job of directing these people to the right answers, and I hope we will have apostles to our program as time goes on, and it's largely attributable to you and your staff's efforts, so thanks. And I don't know about the rest of the directors, but I thought it would be very timely for you to be here and answer any specific questions and refresh us in terms of this program because of the volume of inquiries that we're getting.
Yes. Thank you.
Director Pearson.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you again for coming before us, and I still support this program. I supported it before. Simple fact of what the chief was saying, these weren't getting done, and we needed to do them, and it's part of our due diligence to keep the citizens safe, and we're not trying to make money off of it. So I appreciate the extra time that you and your staff have put into this, and hopefully the citizens will realize that this is for their benefit. If we can prevent an accident or a fire, it will save that business quite a bit more money than the $91 that they might have to spend on this. And and we have access if they can call your office. I mean, that's a big resource there. And if they're filling that form out, they have a question, you have the numbers on there. That's a heck of a lot cheaper than having that inspector come out there. And oftentimes, if they find something wrong, it's going to be 2 visits, 3 visits, and it just continues to go up. So I think when we looked at this program, it was I looked at it as a benefit for the businesses. I wouldn't have done something to hurt the business. So hopefully, if they have questions, I'm more than happy to sit down with them. But I still support it. So thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Cool.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief, I appreciate you being here tonight. As you've heard from directors, we've had comments and questions from small business owners, and that's to be expected anytime they're presented with a fee that is not new. And I think that's something that needs to be reiterated. This is not a new fee. In fact, this is a fee that's mandated above our level. It's one of those almost like federal mandates to the schools that they get no compensation for. And so we're reacting to laws that we're held accountable to do. And I think that and I know it's been said, but we just need to keep saying that. This is not something where Metro sat around and looked at the small business owner and said, how can we get in their pocket even more? And they just came up with this wild idea of having self-inspections for a fee. And so I think that's important. The chief answered many of my questions. One of those is I'd like to reiterate, how much does this save the small business owner over 3 years? So it's not a new program. And how much savings is there?
You're exactly correct. It's not a new program. They save over 35% over a 3-year period. The ability to collect fees for service goes back to 1988 fire code. So
it's not new. It's mandated. And we've saved the small business owner 35% by doing it this way.
That's correct.
I'm still trying to find something wrong. One final thing, in the letter that you sent out to the small business owner, I know it sounds crazy, but what happens if they don't want to do the self-inspection?
They can opt out.
Say that again?
They can opt out of the program and have us do it for them.
And that's going to cost more?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I would add one addition to that. It's been interesting, but 30% more than we expected have opted out. And they actually want to pay the higher price and have the inspector come there. I think that's because those businesses are going, hey, I'd like to have somebody come and run through my business with me. because I think business owners are exceedingly responsible. They're a huge foundation to our society, and we count on them. And they're that economic engine that makes things run. You know, a large portion of businesses, when they have a fire, never reopen, especially the moderate to small-sized businesses. You can have a Home Depot burn down. You can have the Galleria Mall. You can have a lot of stuff go down, and those businesses open up. Boy, those people that are on the front lines of small to moderate-sized businesses have a major incident and they lose their facility opening up. I think that it's almost like 80% don't reopen. It's an astronomical amount of businesses. And that's very damaging to the community, not just the business owner, but the agencies and the people that depend on them. So we see about 30% more than we had expected opting out and wanting to pay the $185, have the inspector come through and do that. And so I think after this first year, that will taper off. And level out. It's an education process for them.
And Chief Iverson, one last thing relative to this particular program, they can opt out, they can have us come and we'll do that inspection and then they'll get a report and have additional visits if that's required?
Yes, if it's necessary, there'll be re-inspection to make sure there's compliance. And at the end of the day, that's what our ultimate goal is. You know, fire and life safety for the businesses, to keep them in business and to make sure they're compliant with the code and the law, and to make sure our economic engine continues to grow and thrive without having to be subject to a devastating fire that will definitely put them out of business.
Now, one last thing. You gave us some information about other cities that have gone down this path. I think it'd be interesting in a year or two to look at some data that tracks how many small business fires we have before and after in some of these cities, to include Sacramento region at some point, because I think that would be additional evidence that we could share with our small business owners that by doing this, we haven't seen an increase in the number of fires in our small businesses. We may have actually seen a decrease because we're being more vigilant in these inspections, even if it's done through self-inspection, which is then followed up by an inspector. Our assumption is if inspector finds something that's not correct, they contact the small business owner. So I'd like to see a year from now being able to present to our small business owners and our chambers of commerce, here's the data that supports these kinds of cost-effective programs, which are not new and mandated by higher authority.
And the thing I would add to that is to ensure that we're able to do those types of things is about data analysis and collection. Henceforth, that's why we're moving to the more modern era, the iPads on the engine companies, and building the systems, whether it's from EMS or it's fire prevention, to be able to collect that data so that when the business community or the concerned citizens come in and they ask the fire chief or the administration a question, it isn't something that they pull out of their ear. It's something that's data-driven, that's empirical data that you can look at and go, we've collected this over a period of years, and we've been doing that with response times and the standards of coverage that we've done for the last 5 years using an outside vendor. We are actually going to be able to save a lot of money in data collection through this whole issue of the iPad and building those systems. So we really are trying to meet that goal, because everything, the business community wants government to run more like a business, and they have the right to have that expectation. So we're doing that. And I think this district's moving really, really fast compared to other governmental agencies in trying to make that happen, because I want to be in the position, staff wants to be in the position, that when a business owner or a citizen asks us a question about how our district operates and what our data is, that we have the best ability to answer that and answer it accurately.
Directors, anybody else? Director Orzali.
One question about the website. This has been beautifully articulated here. I'm wondering if there might be a way to put this same information into one page that could be attached to the website. It may be there and I haven't seen it.
Yeah, actually, we do have a whole section on the website. Not only do we have a section that they can go with written data that they can pull up, but I also, unfortunately, am the star of a video that I apparently was videoed here explaining the program. So they get to hear directly from me on why we're doing the program, and they can play that. So we have had that on the website from the beginning.
Great.
Yes, and it's on every tab on each page. So whatever page you're on our website, you can be able to locate the self-inspection tab.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, Director Monk.
Chief, I did have a couple of comments from some of the citizens that called in, and I wanted to tell you that contacting the office, gave them the phone numbers to contact, both at Fire Recovery and the number that you guys put up at Community Risk. The citizens did make contact with them, and I got back with them, and they were extremely impressed with the short amount of time it took for you to get back to them and answer their question. So they were extremely impressed with the customer service that's being provided on that. So just to pass that on to you.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, going once, twice, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
So that's it with presentation items. I imagine closed session will be next. Sound like a good idea?